Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Speakers Corner Online. As you can see, we have the communist flags in London today for the socialist May Day demonstration. A question for everybody listening: can these people be done for treason?
So are you interviewing?
Mate?
Are you interviewing?
Not at the moment, mate.
Oh, alright. When you interview people, can you interview me?
Okay, mate. I might do, yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can hear me. I'm just waiting for studio to confirm the sound is coming through. Studio, if you can hear me, can you confirm the sound's coming through okay? Testing 1 2, we seem to be fine. All right, so welcome to London May Day 2022. Today is Sunday the 1st of May, and we have the socialist gathering. We've already seen some communist flags walk by. We have some more communists coming by. If anybody listening to this can confirm if that is treason against the country, Hunyati Kingdom, the nation, it would be handy to have that information. So we're going to be going around, we're going to be talking to as many people as possible. At the moment, traffic is being held up as the socialists and the communists walk through. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2. Carnival atmosphere as the ADHK walk by. A man over there is carrying a banner with communism. He doesn't look British, which is interesting. And now we have the communist resistance coming through, which is again interesting since Britain is not a communist nation. I can't really read the banners correctly. Can we get a shot of the pure communism, foreign tyranny coming onto our lands? How proudly they hold up the banner. Ladies and gentlemen, coming live and direct from Russia. I'm only joking. We're actually in London. London Sun. No, 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 no. London. Ladies and gentlemen, look how proudly they hold up communist flags and banners. They want to take your freedom. NATO, why tell a lie? The banner is reading. So this man over here who has an Italian, oh no, some kind of Arabic football top, holding up a board saying, say it loud, say it clear, refugees welcome here. Interesting. I have no idea what language this is being sung, but I can tell you with confidence it's not English. Here we go. So the communist red star is being flown on the green flags in front of us. Let's see if we can work out which communist nation it is. And behind this group, we have a Malaysia flag. If you aren't vegan, you are part of the problem. Why are you covering your face, sir? Why are you covering your face? Now we have a foreign political illusion coming forward, and it's the Communist Party, the Communist MLKP. I wonder how many of them have a British passport. A foreign political party is attempted to establish themselves here in London today. Well, that's what it seems to me. There's a board being held up. Stop sexual violence and exploitation of women and LGBTI plus one or explanation mark. I don't know. I've lost the letters. I only know A to Z. All right. So more commies going to walk past. Okay, commies. Some of them have their face covered. What does that banner say? It says "United Against Imperial Patriarchy and Exploitation" or something. Interesting. Okay. What else? Who else is coming through? Interesting, colourful outfits. Pink, luminous red. All right, next banner. Tyrants don't stay, they will go away. Well, I don't know what language is at the top, but at least we've got some English on there we can read. So this is an Turkish. Okay, so the next banner is Gezi Onur Mandari. Definitely not English. I would have known. So this is, again, it's a communist emblem with the cog and the wheat leaves and the star. More communist emblem coming up with the red star and the white star. Okay, there's another group coming up. Very theoretical. Look Sri Lankan, I think. I'm not too sure. They're banging on plates. Is that a plate? Is that a cutting board? Interesting. Okay, so lovely colours, lovely flags. Communist, obviously, but next one is Bolivia Solidarity Campaign. Is this a World Bank organization or a socialist organization? Why is everybody around the world? Next one is Balalas Las Huelapalas por el Mundo Justica, which is down with NATO proxy imperialist war in Ukraine. Funny how it looks like a NATO organization. Goldsmiths. Right, and then we have the Communist Party of Iran, or Workers' Communist Party of Iran. It's interesting. You are using free speech in a democratic country trying to bring in communism. I wonder what the penalty is. Okay, the next one is Revolutionary Communist Group. And then we have the United Federal Cyprus.
Okay, let's go over there.
All right, let's go. Okay. All right, let me follow Banksy. Banksy on camera duty today, going past the Socialist Appeal stand. Yeah, after you, mate.
What do you think? Shall we go up there and try to get the...
Shall we? Yeah, why not? Or do you want to go as closest to the stage? All right, we're going to try and head towards the back of the demonstration. There is a vegan demonstrator here. Yeah, I'm just letting the audience know there is a vegan amongst the demonstrators. We'll put him straight a bit later on. Let's get the main demonstration in first. Good Metropolitan Police presence today. After all, treason is a crime. Is this good enough?
Can we make our way further into the crowd? Or?
So the Marxist flags are being held up as well, communist flags.
Lots of Sybil and Hammer.
But no democratic flags. Let's take this image in. So this is Cambia La Historia. I think this is Colombia, I believe. Historic Colombia. Oh yeah, there you go. Purdo. Not sure what that means, but some kind of pact.
What do you think? Shall we go further in, or because it looks like there's a big crowd over there?
What do you reckon?
I think so. I think.
But if you want a bit of space, yeah, okay, let's go up. Let's go up. The circus seems to be up ahead. You know, I'm going to get into trouble for putting my own spin on things. Banksy's taking control today. No messing around. Are we able to go beyond the fence?
I don't know. Shall we?
Shall we at least try? There's a gap here. You can pass it through to me.
Oh, okay. Go.
Oh yeah, you can get one.
Okay, let's get as close as possible. Did you just apologize, Banksy? Never apologize. Okay. Oh look, we've got a chorus.
I can record. I can capture it from here, but I can't get any closer.
But there's gap here. Gap here. Not a single Union Jack in sight. We can't hear that, man. We can't hear you. Maybe not a bad thing. Okay, we have the Bolivian choir. Is it Bolivian? So I don't know if we can get this this board here, it says scrap the Nationality and Borders Bill. So does that mean scrap nationality full stop? What does that mean? We're going to have to go around and ask questions.
Gonna have to start making some trouble, Manny.
Justice for cleaners? What's going on with justice for cleaners? Cleaners are essential. Pay justice. I mean, is it all about stating the obvious?
Something to do with cleaners. I think there's an awful lot of red around here for you to make trouble, Manny.
I'm a fan of red.
We may not walk away from this one.
Look, there's the Union Jack. Psych. There is none. You are in the territory of the enemy.
Can all the marshals and the stewards for today's event make their way to the podium, please? You should be at the podium, not in the square, please. Please make your way to the podium as soon as you can. Thank you.
The marshals. Okay, to those who are just joining us now, we are at the May Day demonstration in London. This is not China, though it may look like it with the communist flags. We are in London today, and we are covering the Socialist Workers Trade Union demonstration. I believe this is the Bolivia choir. I'm not sure why this is relevant to British politics, but we shall enjoy the performance nonetheless. A lot of communist flags flying everywhere. Apparently we have a speaker from Black Lives Matter that's going to be speaking, but at the moment they can't even get the speakers speaking. We also have a climate activist who's going to tell you off for living, breathing and farting, because it all contributes to carbon dioxide.
Hello.
Hello.
Now the ringing choir is ready.
The ringing choir. All right. Well, this is nice to be in presence of a choir.
This is crazy.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're crazy, lady.
Yes.
You're the one that's wearing communist red. I'm only joking, audience. I'm feeling overly happy today. So many Marxist, communist flags and symbols. Comrades, he said. Comrades.
Before we hear from the Ringing Women's Choir, a few words of introduction. I'm Jim Kelly and I'm chair of the London and Eastern South Eastern region of the TUC, and my co-chair today is Mary Adosides from the Greater London Association of Trades Councils. So before we hear the choir, Mary would like to say a few words by way of introduction. Mary.
Comrades, brothers and sisters, May Day is back with us after 3 years of lockdown. Today, across the world, workers are marching in many, many parts of the world, through capitals, cities and various villages. Workers achieved a lot even though we had the pandemic, and those hit by it and all are continuing battles to save jobs, public services and for a fair distribution of wealth. May Day 22 will mark what ordinary people want and need. Whilst the rich get richer, we are the ones hit by cuts, hike in prices, and an unacceptable cost of living crisis, which is shooting up whilst the profit of the 1% are going through the roof.
Big up capitalism.
Throughout the pandemic and the lockdown, so many workers kept on working on the front line, and some lost their lives. NHS workers, cleaners, delivery drivers, supermarket workers, postal workers, teachers, transport workers, bin workers, hospital workers, and so many, many, many more. And all during this time, our government was having a party in 10 Downing Street, spinning lies and scandals and denials. The Grenfell fire exposed what government really think about protecting ordinary people. The environmental crisis poses a threat to all of us, hitting the poorest most, whilst the rich exploit the planet and spend on arms, on a war in the East, creating loads and loads of refugees. The need for international solidarity has never been greater, with so many facing physical threats and economic hardship. Unity is our strength. Unity to keep up the fight for jobs. Unity for a pay rise. Unity for better pensions and against cuts in public services. And for our children's future. Build the labour movement, build the unions, build the fight, organise for class power. Nearly everyone is hit hard by a 54% hike in energy prices. Oil barons are raking in record profits. Billionaires worldwide are seeing a bigger increase in their wealth during COVID, and we are being told to pay the price. We have some great speakers lined up for you today, and the rally will start very soon. But first, a couple of songs from the Rengen Women's Choir. Are you ready, women? Rengen Women Choir? And the musicians are ready too. Off we go.
I will be providing a translation. I want democracy. I want to vote. I want to celebrate Christmas. I want democracy.
Yepyeni bir hayat gelir bize ve her yerde. Yepyeni bir hayat gelir bize ve her yerde.
Give me my vote. I want to vote.
Bir Mayıs,
Please give me my vote, please.
Bekçinin bayramı. Bir Mayıs, bir Mayıs, işçinin, emekçinin bayramı.
Vote, vote, vote.
Devrimin şanlı yolunda ilerleyen halkların bayramı.
I'm only joking, ladies and gentlemen. I can't really translate.
Şanlı yolunda ilerleyen halkların bayramı. Yepyeni bir güneş doğar dağların doruklarından. Yepyeni bir güneş doğar dağların doruklarından. Mutlu bir hayat filizlenir kavganın umutları. mutlu bir hayat filizleri kavganın ufuklarında yurdumun mutlu günleri mutlak eren günleri yurdumun mutlu günleri mutlak eren günleri bir Mayıs, işçinin, emekçinin bayramı. Bir Mayıs, işçinin, emekçinin bayramı. Devrimin şanlı yolunda ilerleyen halkların bayramı. Devrimin şanlı yolunda ilerleyen halkların bayramı.
Welcome to Bolivia, ladies and gentlemen. Not more. I thought it was just one song.
Ciao bella, ciao bella, ciao bella, ciao ciao.
Oh, I know this one.
Elleri bağlamış bulunur her yanı içler altında. Elleri bağlamış bulunur
I must say they're quite good.
yanı içler altında. Sene partizan elini götür.
Shall I?
Ciao bella, ciao bella, ciao.
Banksy, I'll give you a tenner if you start dancing. I'll give you a tenner if you go in there and start dancing. Is that a no? 20 quid. 20 quid. Alright, I'll give you 50. Come on, more than 50. Nah, it's not worth it. Blah.
Bella ciao.
Bella ciao, bella ciao.
Ellerinde toprağına sen gömmelisin. Ellerinde beni, ellerinde toprağına. Güneş doğacak, açacak çiçek.
Yalla Chichi.
Bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Gelip geçenler diyecek merhaba, merhaba ey güzel çiçek. Gelip geçenler diyecek merhaba, merhaba ey güzel çiçek. Gelip geçenler diyecek merhaba, merhaba ey güzel çiçek. Gelip geçenler diyecek merhaba, merhaba ey güzel çiçek.
Thank you. Thank you to the Rangoon Women's Choir. We're now
Orangan.
going to get on with the rally and our speakers. Thank you so much. I would be very grateful if all of you who are on the stage and are not part of the trade union and labour movement, if you could now come off the stage. If for health and safety reasons, we have to ask you to do that before we call our first speaker. It's quite good to have our first speaker from the United
Comrades, if the people on the stage that are not part of the rally today, if they stay up here, we'll find it very difficult to have the stage again next year. Can I ask all the comrades who are not speakers, can they please leave the stage before we go on with the rest of the rally? Can I ask everybody please to leave the stage now?
Everybody who is not a communist, please leave the stage now. Your supreme leader has spoken. I don't know why I said that in an Indian accent. It's the only one I could think of. Okay, can we get a view of how many communist flags there are in here in London? Not a single Union Jack.
I don't think they give a shit about it. I'm not sure, but I don't think they.
Comrades, there are still people up here that need to leave the stage. Can they please leave the stage so we can continue with today's May Day rally?
Comrades, come on.
You need to stay, please. You need to stay. Can you leave the stage, please?
Unfortunately, it seems that nobody on the stage understands English. Nobody understands English. So if you speak to them in their language, or Steve,
What is it?
yeah, plenty of space in it.
They mean there.
So,
They don't mean here.
so this leader of the look, fight! Socialists are fighting. The communists are vegan. Eat some meat. Hungry people get very angry. Have some meat. Hey, are you captured? You're not even looking at your own camera. Have you got it or what? The vegan is fighting with the communists because he is hungry, not enough protein in his diet. Must of most criminals,
Comrades,
obviously.
I'll ask once more. Can we ask all the groups and organisations that aren't part of the May Day rally today, that haven't been agreed as speakers from this podium, can they please leave the podium, comrades?
But they don't understand English, so they can't respond, my friends. Perhaps if you speak to them in their local language. Look, vegan, you seem very angry.
This is Kurdistan. This is the Turkish Kurdistan.
Oh, it's Turkish.
But it's Turkish Kurds.
Right,
The Turkish Kurds.
right.
They were protesting a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I see. So there's the Black Lives.
Protesting against Erdogan and his oppression.
There's the Black Lives Matter speaker. I bet she lives in Wimbledon.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Do you think she lives in Wimbledon? Huh? Do you think the Black Lives Matter speaker lived in Wimbledon? Yes. No. Hampstead.
Tory! Torres! Boys! That was not loud enough. That was not anywhere near loud enough. Let's go again.
How you doing?
Torres!
That's it. Good to see you. How you doing?
Boris! That was a lot better. Listen, I want to say thank you to the organisers of International Workers' Day. You've done an amazing job. Can we give them a round of applause? It's not easy.
It's treason to support a foreign political movement. That's what communism is. We shall not be clapping.
That's a little bit better.
Okay, thanks for that, comrades, and thanks to all the groups and individuals that have accepted that they should not be up here and have left the stage. Thank you. What we're going to do now, we're going to return to the running order for today, and the next speaker is Ibrahim from the Unity of Democratic Organisations, which is a Turkish and Kurdish community and political group. Welcome, Ibrahim.
Thank you very much. Workers, women and youth, I salute you all with our revolutionary feelings on behalf of the Unity of Democratic Organizations representing 17 Turkish and Kurdish speaking organizations in London. Before I start, I would like to send our greetings to our billions of comrades who have been filling the streets all over the world on this day of unity, struggle and solidarity. We salute the working class of the world. We know that the workers are celebrating this 1st of May around the world under very difficult conditions.
Maybe my screen's small.
The cost of living crisis, stagnant wages, rising inflation and restriction of workers' rights.
Yeah, fair enough.
All these complicate the struggle waged by the working class around the world
How are you, mate?
to see better days.
Good stuff, man. I'm
But
watching
the
you.
struggle
Yeah.
must continue and will continue.
this might kick off.
The world
Yeah.
is once again in their
Are you hoping?
world
I don't know.
pandemics,
I'm not sure about
economical
that. I have to
crisis,
say it's a film.
poverty,
I cover
and
everything.
deprivation.
I covered,
as it was at the beginning
protests yesterday,
of the last century.
and also the
In this
Extinction
world,
Rebellion. So just a
the
broad
ruling
range on my
classes
YouTube channel.
that support
You have an
the
amazing
system of
YouTube channel, though, right? Thanks. Yeah.
exploitation
Thank you very much.
from the
How old are you? You seem very young. Sorry.
to the most
I'm
reactionary,
I'm 19.
use the state
Wow, really?
apparatus
How did you get into the whole YouTubing thing?
as
I
a
just do it as a
weapon
hobby,
to affect
and
the working
I just
class
do it
and oppress
in my spare
people
time. So
of the world.
I just do it.
While a
I just film what I see in London,
handful of
basically.
At work
Awesome.
for their wealth,
I watch your channel on a regular basis, so I really appreciate what you do.
Thank
you very much. Yeah, same. You have a great
and
channel too.
poverty.
Yeah, but you shit, don't worry about it. Your speakers can't online, that's it.
System, which is the enemy.
I'll catch up with you
of the
later.
working
You know, we
class
do live
and
streams
the
as well.
people
Perhaps you can jump onto a live stream sometime. Definitely, yes.
in
Because
the
you live stream on
invasion of
Twitter, don't you?
Ukraine
Because
by
I
the
started doing that now
imperialist Russia.
and Odyssey because
Russia,
there's a lot of censorship on
which was
YouTube
the result
and
of
we
the
don't know what they could take down from these
between the
protests.
USA,
As I cover everything,
UK,
and
EU,
it might be quite
and Russian imperialism
it might be
once again
quite
caused an
like
arms race
too controversial
on
for
the
YouTube,
ground
and they might take
of
it down. So I put all uncensored content on Odyssey,
increasing
no matter what it is, just in
and
case.
conflict
Yeah, and your Odyssey channel is the same name as the YouTube channel. Yes, it's the same name as my YouTube channel, and same with Twitter, and all these other platforms I'm on, like Instagram. But I'm mainly on YouTube, Twitter, and Odyssey, and that's the three streaming platforms I just live stream off whenever. I think Banksy's got your contact details, so we'll definitely get you onto a live stream, and we'll do a quick interview on there with you. Yeah, definitely.
against imperialist
Yeah.
occupation.
Okay, mate. Thank you. Did you hear that?
In the street,
Well, you can go for it. You'll pick it up.
also
Okay.
to fight
All right.
for a brighter and a better future.
For Speaker's Corner, I think we've covered about 4 protests. We've been here at a Christmas market. It's a Christian country, so you would have to pick up on the Christian roots. Yeah, so about 4 so far, maybe 5.
Will continue to stand on the side of the working class in the country
So,
we're
so
living
this is
together.
we're on YouTube,
Hand in
Speaker's
hand with
Corner
God.
online,
We will go
Twitter,
together
Facebook, and Twitch. I think, or I'm not too sure. I didn't set it
in
up,
the
so
darkness of history.
okay, mate.
Long live the
See you,
1st
mate.
of May. Long live international solidarity. Long live socialism.
Well, there you go. Long live socialism, aka communism. So we had the Turkish man telling the British people about democracy there. Thank you very much, young man.
Ibrahim. The next speaker is from the PCS Union, which recently balloted their members for strike action and received over 80% in favour of action on a consultative ballot. So can I please introduce you to Diane Ebanks, the Secretary of the London region of the PCS Union.
Well, PCS Union member.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the May Day rally in London. It is good to see so many of you here today. I am delighted to be here today to represent the PCS, the Public and Commercial Services Union. We represent members that work in the civil service and also in the private sector. Our General Secretary, Mark Savotka, could not be here today, but he sends his very best wishes to everyone that is gathered here today. May Day, as we know, is a celebration of working people across the world. The workers who struggle against capitalism. Its origins lie in the general strike of 1886.
Capitalism made the greatest amount of wealth in the world.
Over 100 years later, we are still here fighting and demanding respect and equality in the workplace. We cannot still be here over 100 years later demanding what is owed to us as workers. Workers, people.
Capitalism pays for the
It was
taxes.
workers that kept the country country running during the pandemic.
It was the taxes.
Many losing their lives, unable to be with loved ones as they died, unable to share those last moments, unable to say goodbye because we obeyed the rules. We followed the rules that were given to us by this government, and what did they do? They spat in our faces. They partied. They gathered together. They went on their holidays. They had a jolly good time. They even laughed about it at their mock news presses, and we followed the rules.
Well, she's right about that.
They have shown
Can't
time
knock her
and
for that.
time again their utter contempt and disrespect for the workers of this country. Every time that we say we want better, they say, maybe next year, come back later, another time. We are still campaigning. We are still organising. We are still marching. We are still here demanding better. This is why my union, PCS, are leading the campaign for fair pay and an end to the cost of living crisis that is of this government's making, plunging millions of families and working people into poverty, to demand that workers are treated with respect and paid a decent wage. We are asking for a 10% rise for our members, and to some people that may seem high, it may seem extravagant, it may seem to be too much, but remember, these workers have not had a decent pay rise for 12 years. Since 2007, our members have seen their real pay cut by 20%. So 10% is modest. It is not too much. It is justified. It is right. Should be what all workers
The communistic
are getting.
workers of the world unite, globalism
every day.
banner
Not because you think you
has
like
been stood
us,
up once again.
not because we support you, not because we pay into your political campaign, because that is what we deserve. It's what we deserve.
She's getting very passionate, this
The
one.
cost of living crisis is starting to hurt. Recently, the CEO of Iceland has said, and I quote, "We are losing customers to food banks and not being overly dramatic to hunger." Do you think the end of that statement ends with Sherlock? Well, thanks for pointing out the obvious. And what have Iceland done? They have allowed you to have your free delivery, but instead of spending £25, you now have to spend 40 to get the free delivery. Did you know there are now more food banks than branches of McDonald's? Think about that. 2022, more food banks than branches of McDonald's. And how can this be right? We are a first world country. How can this be right?
Well, because nobody went to work. They printed more money. You should have gone to work and not obeyed the lockdown rules.
That is expected to rise to 5 million. That equates for every 10 children, 3 will be in poverty. How can this be right in a first world country in 2022?
Well, I must say this woman's not completely wrong. I do stand with her on a lot of the points.
They're wondering how they manage. Food banks, yes, but also they turn to our members in DWP for those benefits they rely on. Can you imagine getting up every day and dealing with those people who are hurt, frightened, stressed, angry, at the end of their tether? They don't know what to do. They're relying on these benefits. They've got sanctions. Some of them are angry. And you know, as that person dealing with those people, at the end of the month, you too will be in a queue in a food bank. You too will be applying for the benefits that you are administering for others. How do you get up and go to work every day knowing at the end of the month you'll be in the same position as those in front of you? And yet they do. We continue to campaign. We've just had a win in our legal action with Care for Calais, Channel Rescue and Freedom from Torture, where we forced the Home Secretary, pretty only in name, into a humiliating climb down when she had to drop her dangerous and inhumane pushback policy. We're now bringing another legal case. We're challenging the Home Secretary once again on the plans to send UK asylum seekers to Rwanda. We're doing this on behalf of our members who work in the border force, who will be expected to implement this policy. And on behalf of
Studio, we heard your comment. Very good,
we
very
want
funny.
to see an improvement in the working conditions for our members and for all workers. If this country is great, how can it be so when there is no compassion? There is no understanding. There is no equality in what they do in our name. I am a child of the Windrush generation. My parents came to this country and left children behind. They left their family, their friends, their home. They came here thinking they would be wanted and welcomed. Instead, they found coldness, racism, a system they didn't understand, intolerance, disrespect and fear. And so many people are still feeling that now. All these decades on, how can that be right? You'll never hear about them. No one will speak about them. You'll never read about them. But their legacy is me. Their legacy are our children and our grandchildren who are now going to university, who are doctors, lawyers and engineers, who are taking the place in the wider society to make it better for everyone. And that is why we are here today. We are here to add our voices to those around the world. It is time to say, we not only hope for better, we don't just expect better. We deserve better. We demand better. That is our right as workers of this country. We get up every day and keep this nation going. We deserve better. We are building, colleagues, brothers
Can
and
you see that
sisters,
banner with all
we
the
are
community
building
leaders?
to the
We need
18th
to
of
have
June.
we definitely need to
There
have
will
an
be a
interview before
national
we go.
rally.
And also there's
That rally, we
there's
all
people
need to
carrying
come
around
out.
saying open the
All
borders.
of us, all our
Yes, the
sister trade
refugees, we need to
unions,
grab one of them.
organisations, community action groups,
may
and
have to
come
quickly do
together,
this.
take to the streets of London. And when we do that, what
Is
are we
that the
asking
drains I'm
for?
smelling, or have you let one rip?
We're asking
Someone let someone-
that we get what we deserve. We deserve decent
There's hardly
pay
any
rise.
many people
We
here.
deserve assistance with this cost of living crisis that we did not create. We need help. We don't need more policies. We don't need loans.
It suddenly got empty.
We
after the
need
quiet.
an increase in our pay. We need taxation on those large energy companies that are raking in billions. Energy, BP and Shell, they're going to bring in 21 billion pounds of profit. Are they really saying to us that of that 21 billion pounds, there is nothing to help us with our energy bills? Do we believe this? No, we don't. So as I leave here today, I say to you all, not only do we hope for better, not only do we expect better, we deserve better, and now we must demand better. Peace and solidarity to everyone from the PCS Union. Demand better. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Big cheer for Diane. Yay! Our next speaker is Paul Novak, Deputy General Secretary of TUC. A big cheer for Paul. Thank you.
Brothers, sisters, comrades, it's an absolute privilege to be here with you today to mark International Workers' Day, to bring greetings and solidarity on behalf of the TUC, the 48 unions, 5.5 million working people up and down the country that we represent. And today is our day when we commemorate all those generations of trade unionists that came before us and all the battles they fought and won on our behalf. When we celebrate the contribution that unions make day in, day out to protect millions of workers in this country and around the world, and to reaffirm our commitment to peace and internationalism, a global trade union movement. And on that point, let's just send a message down the road to the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary. Stop demonising and attacking asylum seekers, people coming to this country seeking refuge and comfort. And I don't care whether they come from Afghanistan or Ukraine or Iran or Iraq or Yemen and Syria. They are our brothers and sisters They deserve our solidarity and our support. Let's give it to them. So I'm going to say three things today. First one is this. Well, thanks for the contribution, but let me get through to the 3 points I'm going to talk about. The 3 points I want to make are this. First of all, this week, millions of people in London, millions of people up and down this country will have the chance to go to the ballot box and cast their verdict on Boris Johnson and this rotten government. This is a government whose response to the cost of living crisis is to raise taxes on working people. A government that has spent 10 years presiding over the biggest wage squeeze in history. And a government that is mired in scandal and incompetence, and that has broken the law. The Prime Minister broke the law while working people put their lives on the line. So let's send a strong message to Boris Johnson and his rotten government this Thursday. Let's make sure the next and the last party that Boris Johnson goes to is his leaving party, and we'll all raise a glass for him when he leaves Downing Street next week. Second point is this. It's not enough just to complain about the government. We need to do on International Workers' Day to set out a positive vision for a better world, a better economy and better jobs. That means a new deal for working people, an employment bill that bans 0 hours contracts, that ends fire and rehire, that repeals the anti-trade union legislation that has held down unions and employers for far too long. It means a pay rise for Britain's workers, whether in the public sector or the private sector, a real living wage, collective bargaining for everybody from care workers to those working in the private sector. And it means properly funded public services. And when we've got broken markets, whether those markets are in rail or in energy, if private companies can't run those services properly, we should bring them back into public ownership and control where they belong. Third and last point from me is this. We need political change in this country, but it won't come about by us just hoping for political change. If we're serious about delivering the stuff that matters to all of our members, then we need to be serious about building a bigger, stronger, more diverse trade union movement. It's great to have rallies like this. We need to see the trade union movement grow in workplaces, in the streets and in communities. Now, the last few months I've had the privilege to stand alongside workers taking action, from community workers taking action in Clarks against fire and rehire, UCU members standing up for decent pay and pensions, RMT and Nautilus members fighting those disgraceful sackings at POO. And I just want to give one message to this rally. Wherever workers are in dispute, let me get the message across, sister. Wherever workers are in dispute, wherever workers vote to take industrial action, the TUC will be there. We will have their back and you will have our support. Final point, and I mentioned this. On June the 18th, we want tens of thousands of people on the streets of London to send a message to this Prime Minister and to this government. As Diane said, we demand better for the people that we represent, and the way that we'll get better is by coming together, fighting together, organising together, winning together. Happy International Workers' Day, comrades. Solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Delia Mattis from Black Lives Matter. Welcome, Delia.
Hello again. Good afternoon, everybody. Before I start the shouting and the raging, if you look around this audience, and I know it's thinned out a little bit, the great thing about our movement is it's people from all different races, from all different backgrounds, all coming together to march in solidarity for the International Workers' Day. And when I look around here, one flag that I don't see is the Palestine's flag. And I have to talk about it.
You don't see the British flag either. Where's the British flag?
The holiest month.
Banksy, can you see the British flag? Can you see the British flag?
An apartheid attack on the Palestinians. The Al-Aqsa Mosque has been attacked several times, and this is apartheid. Listen, when the relationship between black people, and the Palestinians is a historic relationship. I remember the apartheid apartheid in South Africa. And I remember as a child, Yasser Arafat stood in solidarity with black communities in South Africa. And so we have to stand in solidarity against the same type of apartheid over in Palestine. And this week I spent some time with the Islamic Human Rights Commission, and we drove around London with the Palestine flags, and the youth were speaking to us on the street, and you know what they said? They joined us in our chance to free Palestine. Free, 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 from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea. Solidarity always for the people of Palestine. We will always and must always continue to stand against the oppressed people. This is not winning your argument. This is not winning your argument. Solidarity with the people of Palestine. And yes, there are always struggles around the world, but we cannot be stopped from defending the people that we want to defend. We cannot be stopped from standing up to people who are still oppressed. Free Palestine! The other thing, as well as standing up against the international issues that we have against oppression, we are also facing a period of oppression in this country. Because this week, the government has passed some of the most pernicious bills that we have ever seen, the most racist bills. One is the Nationality and Borders Bill, which aims to actually strip people of their citizenship and deport them to countries that they've never known. That is racism, and racism is rooted in the heart of our government. Tory, Tory, Tory! Tory, Tory, Tory! The other bill that has passed in Parliament is the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill. And, you know, we have to be very, very aware of what's happening, because there is an intention by the state to stop us from doing what we're doing here today, which is protesting. As has been mentioned earlier, for hundreds of years, we have used protest as a right to make our voices heard. For hundreds of years, organized workers have used protest to make their demands clear. We cannot, at this point, allow the government to take our rights away. Tory, Tory, Tory! Are you going to stop protesting just because the government's passed this law? No. Tory, Tory, Tory! And while these bills were going through Parliament, while they were going through the Lords, over 100 Labour Lords abstained from the vote. That's what happened. Over 100 Labour Lords abstained from the vote. Now, I agree we need political change in this country, but we have to be honest. The opposition has failed us just as well as the Tory party has failed us. If we want politics, or a new kind of politics, an actual new kind, then we shouldn't be backing the current Labour Party either. They could have done more to lobby against the Nationality and Borders Bill, and they did nothing. And I tell you, I'm not standing here telling you to do something that I wouldn't do. I left the Labour Party, and I'll tell you what we're doing in North London. We are standing independent candidates who are prepared to stand up for our communities where the Labour Party and other parties have failed us. And listen, I believe that's the way forward. If we think we're going to get rid of this government and put in Keir Starmer, and if you think Keir Starmer is a vehicle for change, then I feel sorry for you. Because what he has shown so far is shameful and disgraceful. He is a lackluster leader of the Labour Party, and we need to be rid of him. Listen, I'm happy to be here on International Workers' Day. Solidarity. Oh, and before I go, let's have a chat for Black Lives Matter. Whose lives matter? Whose lives matter? Whose lives matter? Solidarity. And one last thing I want to say. As we're talking about being failed by parliamentary politics, the People's Assembly is an organisation that has affiliates from all trade unions and very many community groups such as Black Lives Matter. They've now turned into a membership organisation. I think this is a vehicle for change. Check them out online, and if you think it's something that you're interested in, please consider becoming a member. Solidarity!
Just for the record, my personal opinion is that all lives matter.
Thanks for that, Delia. Comrades, I'm now very proud to introduce our next speaker, Alex Gordon, the President of the RMT Union.
Thanks, Jim. Welcome to May Day. Welcome to International Workers' Day. I bring you greetings from the RMT Union, the National Union of Rail Maritime Transport Workers. And we are calling on all members of the RMT to remember their historic role, the role that they play in our labour movement. Because this week we have commenced a ballot of 42,000 rail workers across Britain and Ireland. We are going to be balloting workers for the first national railway strike in 40 years. And we are fighting to break the Tory pay freeze. Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, you've got to fight on. And we're going to bring it to you. And when the rail workers join with the workers employed by London Underground, the 10,000 RMT members who are already in dispute to defend their pensions, there's going to be a general transport workers' strike in this country. We're heading for a hot summer, brothers and sisters, and anyone who tries to divide our union is doing Boris Johnson's work for him. So remember, May Day is about solidarity, not about division. We are one movement. In 1890, Eleanor Marx spoke at the first London May Day demonstration. And Eleanor Marx came to Hyde Park, not here, to Trafalgar Square. And Eleanor Marx said, "We have not come to do the work of political parties, but we have come here in the cause of labour." I am speaking this afternoon not only as a trade unionist, but as a socialist. I believe that the 8-hour day is the first and most immediate step to be taken. And we aim at a time when there will no longer be one class supporting two others, but the unemployed, both at the top and the bottom of society, will be got rid of. And she finished with a quote from Percy Bysshe Shelley: "Rise like lions after slumber, in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few." I've come here today, brothers and sisters, to honour workers who are on strike. I'm honouring the Churchill's Cleaners, organised by the RMT, who are in the middle of an 11-day strike. They're on strike to win decent pay. Some of those cleaners are earning £8.95 an hour in a country where there's 9% RPI inflation, where your national insurance contributions have just been jacked up, where the prices in the shops and the prices on your domestic gas bills are going through the roof. And we're fighting alongside those cleaners. And I'm proud to stand alongside them. Those cleaners are fighting for a real living wage. And that's not a London living wage. That's £15 an hour. Those cleaners are fighting for sick pay, contractual sick pay, so that people who do the most necessary jobs in our society, who keep our public transport hygienic, are not themselves going sick and falling into poverty. We've got to stand alongside those workers. And I'm proud today to introduce two of our members, Rosa and Sawa, and they're going to speak to you about their dispute. And I want the whole of this Trafalgar Square to get behind the Churchill Cleaners. Rosa and Sawa, thank you.
strike to strike Churchill. We are telling our employers to give us a pay rise. We are not asking for much. All we are asking from Churchill is just 15 pounds per hour. 15 pounds per hour. And Churchill can afford that. Churchill can give us that 15 pounds. We are saying we want 15 pounds per hour. Churchill, we are asking for 15 pounds. We are asking for 15 pounds and not 1105. 1105 GTR has given us, and we want Churchill that we work for during the pandemic. We have done so many things. They gave us extra rent. They didn't give us extra additional pay. They give us extra duties. They didn't give us anything. All we are asking from Churchill for this strike moment, this strike action is for them to give us a pay rise. We know that Churchill can do it. All we are asking is that Churchill should give us a 15 pounds per hour and a sick pay. Free travel for the train that we clean. We make the train to be clean for everybody, for the customer to be satisfied with. And all we are asking for Churchill is to give us just 15 pounds per hour. We are not asking for much. Is it too much for us? 15 pounds per hour is not too much. Churchill can afford it and afford it and afford it. All we are asking is 15 pounds per hour. Churchill, we know you can do it. You can do it. You can give it to us. We need 15 pounds per hour. Cleaners in house. And now government need to take cleaners in house. It's time for us cleaners to be taken seriously, because we cleaners, we clean everywhere. We make our church to be nice and decent, very hygienic for everybody to be able to travel in. But what do we get from it? Just £8.91. We are telling the public and sworn to the government that they should take cleaning in house. Cleaning should be taken seriously. Cleaning should be taken seriously. We said we want cleaning back in house. Cleaners need to be taken back in house. Cleaners, we need to be taken
Studio, I have no idea.
If I say cleaners, we say justice.
I repeat, studio. I have no idea.
Yes, as we are here on site,
should
we
be
are
back
also
in
appealing to the
Well, it sounds like she's saying Churchill, but I want to tell her that Winston Churchill died a number of years ago. Maybe she means something else, I'm not sure.
To go to RMT, a club fund. We have a club fund in RMT, who is our union, supporting us to support us with the Justice for Cleaners Fund. We are just appealing to the trade union and the public as well to help raise a fund to support the Justice for Cleaners action. Justice! Thank you. Solidarity.
Justice! Justice for cleaners! Justice for cleaners! Justice for cleaners! Justice! 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 Churchill, hear us! Hear our cry! Hear our voice!
Churchill
We are
working with
here
a
to
company
tell
that
Churchill that
But
enough
Churchill
is
Insurance.
enough! We are here to tell Churchill that they have treated us rubbish and enough is enough. We need 15 pounds from Churchill. Churchill should hear us and hear us well. They should hear us that we, the cleaners at Victoria Station, Churchill, we are asking, we are pleading on behalf, we are standing that the trade union movement should fight on our behalf so that we'll be able to help Justice for Cleaners. Justice! 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 We say, Churchill, give us our rights because we deserve it. Thank you.
The problem with socialism and communism is that the followers don't understand economics. The reason they get paid lower is because there's a lot more unskilled workers. So that's the problem with democracy and capitalism and free markets, is that people who have higher skills get paid more.
Terms and conditions, fighting to protect its pay and pensions. We've got two speakers now. We've got Vincent Morsad and we've got Marion Carthy, who are going to say a few words about their dispute. So Vincent and Marion, welcome.
Thank you. Friends, comrades, siblings, I want to start by wishing you all a very, very happy May Day un feliz 1 de Mayo, Biji Golan, Yatsashim Bilbais. I'm here to speak for the Universities and Colleges Union. I'm from the Goldsmiths branch. We've been involved in a dispute now for a year where our management has been making mass job cuts immediately following the end of lockdown. We've fought this with nearly 40 days of strike action, with a marking and assessment boycott, with mass student solidarity. In spite of this, management have gone ahead and made 16 compulsory redundancies. We're continuing to fight them. What we've seen is since we've disrupted their plans to make mass redundancies, they've instead targeted trade union activists. They've targeted colleagues working on access courses that allow working class people to come to university, and they've been attacking scholars of the Middle East, of Africa, of migrant literatures and histories. This is the Tory educational agenda in a nutshell. This is exactly what the Tory party is seeking to implement in education, and they're doing it in the guise of cuts, of financially justified cuts, of continued attack on working conditions. But make no mistake, this is also an attack on our entire class's access to education. Education is something that working people have fought for, along with everything else that allows us not only to survive, but to truly live. And we as education workers are acutely aware that we're fighting not only for ourselves, not only for the working conditions of our colleagues, but for the rights of everyone to access education. It's a fight that we cannot win alone. And we've had a tremendous amount of support from across the trade union movement, from students and from social movements across the country. And for that, on behalf of Goldsmiths UCU, I want to say thank you today. We're not only at Goldsmith, though, we're also we've won our reballot, not only in our local dispute, but in the national dispute as well. And I'm very, very proud of our branch for that tenacity and that grit. And again, we couldn't have done it without support from workers across this country and abroad. I'm very, very happy now to bring in Marianne Carty, who's our trade union liaison, to speak about the national dispute.
Okay, fine. Greetings on this May Day 2022. I'm going to speak very briefly about the national dispute. You may not be aware, but more than 50% of those teachers teaching our students in our universities are on casual contracts. That means they're hourly paid. That means they don't get holiday pay. That means they don't get sick pay. If they're sick, they've got to make up their time. They're being paid less than the students are paying for their yearly fees. These people as well are largely women, and of course you'll find many of our black academics are in this category of worker. That means they've got no way of planning their careers. They can't set down routes. They're chasing contracts around the country, hoping to get, if they're lucky, a 1-year contract, a 2-year contract. More and more permanent staff are being replaced by casual workers. We really, really must recognise that this is an attack not only on the workers in the universities, but an attack on the working class, because the working conditions of our teachers and professional services colleagues are the learning conditions of our students. It means a much poorer quality of education. The specialists are leaving, and the workforce is demoralised. We're fighting a top-down destruction of the higher education sector. Universities are becoming cash engines for consultants, for senior management, and of course for landlords who charge extortionate rents for slum conditions. And meanwhile, it's the students and the staff that have to pay the price. Education as research and empowerment is dissolving and has been dissolving since 2010 in favour of management profiteering. They employ the tired old narrative of we've got to save money, meanwhile extending managements on 6-figure salaries. Education is a public good. We want public education, not private profit. Solidarity to all workers.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Vincent. Our final speaker, who has been very patient, I'd like to thank her for her patience, is Susan Everett Jeffries, who is going to talk about the climate question. She's from COP26 Trade Union. And thank you for waiting, but you're the most important speaker here, I'm sure.
Thank you, Mary, and thanks for the invitation to speak here. And it's actually a privilege to follow those fantastic militant workers, because we know one thing in our history when we look at May Day, that what we have as a working class globally, we've had to fight for, and that's the only reason we've ever achieved any of the things that we've achieved. And that kind of spirit that we saw from the Churchill strikers there, I want to salute them, wish them absolute solidarity and success in their dispute. But that is the kind of spirit that we now need to see when we face the biggest collective battle that we do as working people around the globe, and that's the climate crisis. And it is only barely 5 months since COP26, since the climate talks, which were hosted by Johnson's government in Glasgow, took place. But in those 5 months, there is a collective amnesia has come over our government, where they've forgotten when they talked about a climate emergency, in the same way that they've forgotten about the parties that they had in Downing Street during lockdown. But this is a collective amnesia that is just as bad, it's just as cruel, it's just as brutal, and we cannot afford to allow that to take place. As we speak here today, the consequences of a gathering climate crisis are being experienced around the world. In India, our brothers and sisters in the farming community who fought so bravely against neoliberalism most recently are facing a deadly heat wave in India, in parts of Pakistan, in Bangladesh. And when we talk about a deadly heat wave, deadly heat, that is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the heat that kills, that does not allow people to leave their homes, that does not allow people to pursue their livelihoods. This climate crisis.
All that she said about Indians not being able to leave home is completely false.
Will affect the poorest and working people hardest, the people that are contributing.
She will not mention India.
People will suffer the most, but it is a crisis which
is conducting weather experiments
and the hardest. And in response to,
I repeat, India is engaged in weather modification experiments.
We have a government whose policies on both fronts don't address the crisis, but instead protect the rich. Johnson's so-called energy security strategy is cynically exploiting the war in Ukraine and the cost of living crisis to push for more fossil fuels, more licenses to extract oil and gas in the North Sea, and they're even talking to returning to fracking that we hopefully had finished off as a movement. Now, this is a disaster for the climate, but let's be clear, this will not cut energy bills either. It's also a disaster for the poor. It is not a solution to the cost of living crisis. The gas prices are set globally, and the only beneficiaries of more exploitation of oil and gas, more extraction of oil and gas, will be the big energy companies already reeling in massive profits, BP, Shell, and the rest of them.
Again, totally false. Gas prices are set by the global market, supply and demand.
People have to choose between heating and eating. That is
this information coming through is on another scale with this lady.
In love with the rich are putting in place. The trade union movement has mobilised to support the climate strike. Many of us were on the streets on the 20th of September, standing alongside the climate strikers. We mobilised for COP26, but we have to say that we will not make the mistake that the government is making. We will continue to mobilise now, and we will not counterpose the cost of living crisis and the climate crisis. Their roots are in the same profit-driven system, and their solutions may lie in the same place, in rejecting that system and posing an alternative to that system. One thing that Johnson left out of his so-called energy security strategy was probably the most important thing: energy efficiency. That is where we will start to see a reduction in energy bills. So we have to raise demands that address the climate and energy crisis.
crisis. One of those demands has to be for a mass retrofit program across the country rolled out at the point of need, a public goods program where we are retrofitting our homes, where we're reducing the amount of energy we need, and we're tackling those energy bills permanently and immediately. And secondly, we have the market. The energy market has failed. It is a failure. We have to call for mass investment in renewable energy, but alongside that, we have to call for public ownership of our energy system, one that is there to put the interests of the planet and the people and nature on it, not the interests of big business and the huge companies that have destroyed our planet in the pursuit of fossil fuels, and see no reason why they should stop doing that now. And we have to call for public ownership of our transport system as well. We need a proper public transport system that is accessible, that is affordable, and that prioritises the needs of the climate crisis and the workers that work within it. And if we demand these kind of demands across the trade union movement, across our communities, across the environmental movement, we will also create millions of good, well-paid trade union jobs. So this is a win-win, but we have to get organised and we have to demand that these are the answers to our climate, our energy and cost of living crisis. Solidarity with you all.
Thank you, Susan. Susan was the last speaker at today's rally. Can I just say before we finish, can I thank all the organisers, the marshals, Mary, all the speakers who've helped make today a success.
Stop sanctioning people!
At the beginning today, comrades, it was one of the largest May Day marches that I've been on. But let's not forget, 2 other things coming up, dates in your diary. Get out there, May the 5th, let's vote these Tory councils out in the elections. Let's show Boris Johnson and his cronies that we will not put up for their outrageous, arrogant and misogynistic way of running a country. And on June the 18th, get back into your communities, get back into your workplaces, your trade unions, and let's mobilise for the TUC demonstration on June the 18th. Let's make it one of the biggest shows of opposition to this government that we've seen. Colleagues, I'm going to just finish off now. I think Roger Sutton, the organiser for today, would just like to say a few words, comrades. Thanks for your support. It's been a wonderful, lively May Day celebration, I think, here in Trafalgar Square, and I think we've all enjoyed it. Comrades, final thing, Roger.
Right. I'm not going to keep you at all. It's just that we were looking at the history of May Day, which we've been holding for the last 130 odd years in London. But we marked, on some May Days, we marked some key things, and it's worth just mentioning them, just to remind you that when we had May Days, we marked certain things. In 2014 was the death of Bob Crow and Tony Benn, which was the central part of the march. In 1993, the death of Stephen Lawrence, which had been just a couple of weeks before the May Day march. And in 1999, the Soho, Brixton and Brick Lane bombs by the fascist Copeland, who put the bombs there and killed 3 in Soho. And immediately afterwards, literally a few days later, we had the May Day march, and we were making sure that we celebrated then. And then finally, a few before the COVID hit, we also marked the death of Firoz Dag, or Mehmet Aksar, as he was known in this country, who was a person working for the Kurdish community, who was filming in Syria, the Peshmerga fighting, and he had been a long time supporter.
So we represent a social media platform called Speakers Corner Online. It's essentially based on the free speech attributes of Speakers Corner. So perhaps you could introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
So I'm here basically because I'm a student up in Bath, and this is the first opportunity I've had in a long time to come to a major rally. Being from a working class background, May Day is the ideal place to be.
Okay, so the reason why I spotted you from a distance, you're holding a communist flag. So obviously this is Britain, this is England, this is a democratic country where we exercise our free speech and we vote for who we want to vote. So by you holding the communist flag, is that to say that you're standing against democracy?
Quite the opposite. The communist system operates on a proletarian government, which is a government of the people, which is made up of working people, run on the interest of working people, and the electorate is the people elected are made up from those working people.
But let's just take China, for example. Nobody elects that government. They just replace each other.
No, they have an electoral system. They have, I think, it's a five-tier government going from national down to regional. So they have a very democratic system, which is why the Communist Party over there has millions of members.
Okay, so who's the opposition to the Communist Republic Party, whatever they're called in China? Who's the opposition party?
It really depends. So the Communist Party has opposition within itself as well, which is permitted, so long as that opposition isn't actively militant, for example. So anyone who wishes to be opposition is allowed to be opposition. I'm a bit bad with names, so I can't remember the name exactly of.
So are you saying that there's no opposition as a party, but the people kind of fight against each other? Not fight, but they're up against each other in getting votes.
Well, in a way, like any functioning democracy is, you have to put your point of view across. There is, opposition to certain things and what have you. As opposed as in regard to the who opposes the ruling party of China as a party. Again, I'm not so good with names, but there are, debates in the Chinese Communist Party. There are, factions who might disagree, and then that's sort of resolved on the basis of what's best for the collective many.
Okay, so what about things like members of the party disappearing, put in jail and then executed? Does that type of thing worry you?
You mean the same people who are apparently executed and then reappear months later?
And the ones that don't reappear?
So which ones, for example?
Again, I'm like you. I'm not sure of the names, but when you see the reports that when they appear and when they don't appear, I mean, there's never in politics. There's never any smoke without fire, right? So we have to say that some of those stories are definitely true.
It really depends. So which people, like, for example, do you mean like disappeared and were executed? Because there are some people who are imprisoned, obviously, as in any country, and then the charges are whatever they are. Again, I'm not the best verse on Chinese politics. I mean, for example, they're billionaires. We get a lot of stories about their billionaires disappearing and being executed and things like this. But again, they reappear really quickly. And the system that China has surrounding, for example, their billionaires, is that there's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of legislation to keep them from overstepping, to keep them from becoming corrupt and things like this. So it really does take a lot of damaging action for, say, a billionaire to disappear. And we get a lot of those stories from, unsurprisingly, Western sources, which are the key opposition to China.
Yeah, so the last story I actually heard was one of the corrupt billionaires that he spoke to that turned politician, and he was executed. That was confirmed by the Chinese news reports. But let's move on. It's obviously one of those subjects that we're both indirectly saying that news sources are not always accurate from China, or generally, certainly not in Britain either. Yeah. So let's move on in regards to this. So would you be happy for the same system that they have in China to be implemented here in the UK?
The Chinese system simply can't be implemented here because the conditions are so different. And that's the kind of the key tenet of, say, Marxist or socialist politics, is it adapts very specifically to the conditions of a country that it's applied to. So which is why it's so different in Laos, for example, which is a Marxist-Leninist run country. China, very different to that. The DPRK, again, very different to that. Communist Russia, the Soviet Union or Communist Russia, again, very different again. So for a communist system to work here, it would have to be adapted specifically to our conditions.
But would you like that?
I wouldn't be opposed to it personally, yeah, because as I said, the communist system operates on a proletarian government, which is many-tiered. It's core run by the people and for the people.
So under a communistic system, from my understanding, there wouldn't be any room for a royal family. So those of you that are supporting a communistic system, are you not committing treason?
I suppose it depends on your definition of treason. If you mean treason by betraying the royal family, arguably, yeah. But if you mean treason by betraying one's country, probably not, no.
So would you say, on average, those people with your political opinion would be anti-royal family?
Yeah, we're very much, well, as far as I know, very much for the abolition of the royal family, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for being honest. I mean, that's the start of every good conversation. So, in terms of capitalism, can I assume that you are anti-capitalist?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's just talk about tax very briefly. So, organizations, private organization, corporations employ people, and those people go ahead and pay taxes, which then are paid for, towards teachers, nurses, or NHS in this world. So, in your communistic utopia, if you like, or idea in your head, how would that work?
Okay, so I think it's first important to address the idea of a communist utopia. Engels actually wrote a text called Socialism, Utopian and Scientific, where he kind of dismisses the idea of utopian socialism. So so communists ideally aren't utopians, because a utopia is the perfect system for absolutely everyone ever, and nobody is ever realistically going to achieve that. However, we do believe it's the best system or a better system. And in regards to taxes, we believe that the working class is taxed too much, even on an individual basis and proportionally. So a tax-funded system is, by and large, a better system, because then the funds go directly to where it's needed to go, as opposed to a system that we have now, where the working class are taxed so much that they're struggling to make ends meet daily. And this was true 5 years ago, let alone now. While the rich barely pay any proportion of their wealth in tax, and our taxes go to fund, unsurprisingly, government like the Conservative government. So under a communist tax system, the wealth would be distributed to where it needs to go.
Does it worry you that more people have died under communism than any other type of political regime?
But it hasn't, though.
Now, if you look into the Chinese history and Mao and what happened in China, not the history that they want you to believe, but the actual impartial history, does that at least worry you?
Again, we have to look at where we're getting the information from. A lot of it, again, is Western sources from the States or from here. And then if we look at, say, the capitalist system, that unreservedly and undeniably has killed 10 times as many as communism. Did people die in communist countries? Of course, people die in any country, whether it's through conflict or from internal issues or whatever else. So it's a bit of a pointed question, if I'm perfectly honest, because there are deaths in any system, and they are regrettable, and some of them are avoidable, and a lot of them are unavoidable. But it really depends on where we get these figures from again.
So what's your opinion about how the Nationalist Socialist Party under Adolf Hitler in Germany turned out to be quite an evil regime? And also, do you agree with President Kennedy's comments that tyranny always comes from the left? Do you agree with all what I've just outlined there?
So tyranny doesn't always come from the left. In fact, it very rarely comes from the left. If we look at, say, the United States here, Putin's Russia, all of them are quite right-leaning. As much as they might like to say they're not, in reality they are.
They are what, sorry?
They're right-leaning. Yeah.
But they're still left.
No, they're right-wing. Like the America here and Russia and Putin's Russia are all very right-wing.
In your opinion, right?
I can't see Putin's Russia being left-wing, can you?
I would admit that since Putin's taken over, they've become more capitalist. But I would say they're no more capitalist as China, because though China is a dictatorial power under the banner of communism, but because they needed to make money and make the country go forward, they adopted the capitalist framework.
Putin's largest opposition are the communists.
Does he have opposition, or has he kind of terminated them all?
He does have opposition, but as you said, he's cracking down very, very heavily on them. And then to return to your point about, say, Hitler, his party openly opposed the Bolsheviks in writing and in action. He was socialist in name only. It was a very clever way to appropriate the term, and a very clever maneuver to get popular support. I think undeniably his system was evil, but socialist, no.
So what are your thoughts about creating a system that's not left or right wing, but it's perhaps a decentralized way of people to vote. So, in other words, we do away with any corrupt politicians, and we, the people, vote directly. Would that be something that you'd be interested in?
I mean, you've described communism right there. The people are directly involved in communist society.
But communism is not decentralized.
No, it's not decentralized. No, it's very central, and the central power is with the people who act and vote directly, which I'm in favour of. But a centre-aligned government is something that I'm not particularly in favour of. No.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. I threw a lot of questions at you there, so I appreciate it. I'm not a communist. I stand against it, but we're in Britain, and this is the best thing about Britain. We can kind of engage in these conversations without kind of hating each other.
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you very much. Okay.
Not communists very often edit the way they want to, you know. So
No. Our whole ethos is free speech. So if we were to edit it, no, we're not mainstream media. No. Yeah, we
I
can't.
gathered you're not mainstream media.
Definitely not. How dare you? Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Okay, mate. See you. All right. Shall we see if we can find somebody else that we can? I was looking. Shall we go towards the Colombians? Oh, okay. We've got some more flags over there. Let's.
We kind of missed out on the rest of the other guys. We can either talk to those guys or to them. Yeah. Can I go find someone who can engage with us? Yeah. Yes, we are, yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. They get a hat, yeah? Right. I go down there. We're going to speak to Bowler.
Y entonces teníamos también diferentes grupos trabajando en el país. Cuando pasó eso, inmediatamente creamos un equipo de
Hi, Paula. Hi. Can we interview you? Would that be okay? Yeah, we did. We asked that lady. Hi. So we're Speakers Corner. We're a social media platform. We do a lot of journalistic reporting and that type of thing. So we were here covering the communistic socialist rally, and we saw that you were part of that. You created a lovely backdrop here. Perhaps you could tell our audience who you are, what you represent, and what you're doing in London today.
Okay, I'm Paula, and I am here representing the Colombian community and the Latin American community also. We are here for International Workers' Day. We created the Carnival of Resistance last year because there was no call from the main trade unions. So last year we started in Brixton, and we picked up the second law in Elephant and Castle, and then we came to Trafalgar Square. This year we did the same, and we are here to show support to our comrades in Colombia and the people in Colombia who came out to the streets and told us that they wanted a change, that they were not scared anymore of the narco state that we have. We haven't had a president that represents the people forever, and our young people are being killed all the time, disappeared, and we're fed up of it, and we want to change. And we believe our only way to start a change is with Petro as president, and as females we support Francia Marquez because she does represent the people and in all aspects. So we are here to support Petro Presidente as a president, and we're here to unite as Latin Americans also, because we are here together. We are here for the same reasons, for the reasons that we are still being robbed of our raw materials. We're still being lied to. There's so many things that we are fed up of. And another issue that we have here in the UK as Latin Americans is that their history that is being taught in the UK regarding our people is wrong, and we demand that they stop telling lies. We were never savages. We had true heroes. We had true societies. In Mexico, Tenochtitlan, was bigger than London, and we had free education, free universal education from 7 years old to 21 years old, and they told us that we were savages and we didn't know what we were doing, and they actually interrupted our way of lives, and they took over and destroyed and lied to us and hid from us our ancestors, and we're claiming back what is rightfully ours, our history and our land, and our people are claiming back our land. So that's why we're here and we're supporting them, and especially today is our day, International Workers' Day, is something that needs to be kept, and we're here to demand to the UK government that the minimum wage should be £15 an hour. They keep cutting on all aspects and putting everything up, and our children are the ones that are suffering. There is no social housing for our children, and we're supposed to be in the top of the world. We're in the UK. People believe this is the best, and we are the people at the bottom of society, as always, are the ones that suffer, and we've had enough as well. So we want Boris out as well. Everything that's happening is a result of the bad governments we have had. So we're here for change.
Well, unfortunately, like your country, we have corrupt politicians here as well, as it's been proven recently. So you've touched on a lot of things, a lot of powerful things. But let me just start off with, you said that the British children are being taught about your country, that the population historically are savages, and you're saying that's not true. Why are British children, in your opinion, being taught that your countrymen historically are savages, and why, and where is this information coming from?
Well, I studied in the UK And so we are taught history from Columbus onwards. We're not taught history from before. So we don't know a pre-Hispanic history. And that is what the British children are being taught. And basically, we've been robbed of our cultures, of our ancestry, which was strong people, were strong warriors. We all over Latin America. We have Lautaro from Chile. We have so many heroes from our ancestors that our children and children around the world are missing and don't know about. So, we're fed up. And, it's not just Latin American history, it's Black history. We too have Black history in Latin America because of the consequences. And all of this is not clear, it's not being taught properly, we're still being colonized. I feel I've been brought up in this country and I still feel colonized. We've got British people coming into our surroundings and also thinking that we still don't know how to organize ourselves, and they're taking over our structures. Our carnival, there's a carnival called Carnaval del Pueblo, used to be as big as 120,000 people in London. And that was a Scottish lady that used to run it, and she never used to pay the artist. She never used to do anything for the community. It got stopped, and then that's a stolen structure, and that's why the Latin community haven't been able to grow, because all the money that was invested into the Latin Americans was taken by this carnival, and we never received the help that we needed for the structures that we needed. So we are building and building, but on education. We are educating ourselves here and around the world to be able to create our own structures and to go back home. We want to go back home. Many of us want to go back home because we know that home is where, everything is clearer to us. Our roots are there, and we want to go back to claim our roots, to claim our land. We want all the British companies and European companies and US companies out of Colombia. We're fed up of it. We want our land. We want to save the world because Colombia is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world, and we feed most of the world from Colombia, and people don't know that, So there's a lot of things that we're lied about, and Latin America is at the moment in a strong position of awakening, and soon we will be able to offer the help that the rest of the world needs by, saving the Amazon, saving the land, because the land is the most important thing for us.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. So the other thing that you mentioned that was very important, you said a lot of young children, young adults, I'm assuming as well, are being killed in Colombia. Tell us a little bit about that. Who's doing the killing and what's being done about it?
Okay, so basically the young people in Colombia came out to the streets to demand that there was no changes in taxes, because the government was trying to change the taxes. And they came out in numbers to say that, in peaceful protest, that they did not want those changes. And the government set off the police, the paramilitaries, and the military on them. And the people had to create the first line, like in Chile, to defend themselves in a peaceful manner, to stop them from attacking the neighborhoods, because they were throwing gases into the neighborhoods, and then they started killing them and disappearing them. We're still finding our young people who came out to the streets on the 28th of April last year. We're still finding them chopped in pieces because they didn't want us to be able to recognize them. So this is the Colombian narco government that we have. Duque is only a puppet for Uribe, and we all know that. Uribe took over after Pablo Escobar. So, all of these, the Europeans and the Americans have backed these governments because it is for their benefits. Because they're in our countries taking everything from us, exploiting us, and our people have had enough. And as I said, we have had too many young people killed in the last year. I mean, this has been forever anyway. We've had young people being killed all the time, and women raped all over the place because they don't want us to speak, they don't want us to stand for our rights. And again, we've had enough. We want change, and this is our way of saying this is the change we want. We want Petro to lead us into the start of a change, because we know it takes many, many years, but the Colombian people are ready to fight for their rights, are ready to start rebuilding and actually saving the land. Mother Earth is the only thing that can save us now. We are at war. We've been set at war with these all, environment issues, We are dying. People don't understand that if we don't do something now, the environment is going to explode.
Are you worried about the weather modification experiments being carried out around the world by corporations and governments, which might be contributing or may be the reason why climate is changing?
Everything that corporations are doing are affecting the environment, the poor communities around the world. Corporations are actually paying paramilitary forces to go and displace people in Colombia so that they can rip the land.
Are you scared about your safety? Are you scared that they might reach out and try to stop yours and your group's free speech and speaking about these things?
I'm not scared. We've lost the feeling of scared. We've had enough, So I'm not scared, and we're not scared. We've had enough. We want the change. So we have a strong sense of belief, and we are going to make a change, and together. So we're not scared anymore.
Thank you very much, Paula. That was very good, very powerful interview. Is there anything else that you want to say to the world that may be listening or watching this at a later time?
Well, I think that we all need to take social responsibility, and we need to start taking care of each other. Stop relying on this government, stop relying on the police to take care of us. Small things like helping your neighbor, I have a neighbor with 3 small children, and I am constantly there asking, do you need me to go to the shop? Little things as simple and as small like that. So, helping your next door elder with the shopping, any little thing that you can do to bring yourselves together. Do parties, do street parties, come together through food. We need to come together. We need to make that change together, and we need to take care of each other. Stop relying on the police. They do not care for us, and we do not need to be police. We need to take care of each other. And people keep thinking that we need to stop those thoughts. We need to start believing in each other and being the change that we want to see.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Good luck with your movement. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a powerful interview by Paula, who's representing the Colombian community here in the UK. So we could move on. Let me just have a look around at who may be here. Obviously, the Colombians that we've interviewed. We do have more communists over there. Should we serve them papers of treason? Or have we already had? I think it's done in here. What time is it? It's 4:15. So are we done here, or do you want to? What would you like to do? Okay. Okay. All right, so we may start a new stream in about half an hour or so, or we may not. It all depends on what type of shenanigans Banksy wants to do. I would say the Admiralty over there, but he's probably going to go somewhere over there. Let's see, because Steve and Andy have disappeared. Isn't it funny after the round? But anyway, it's over and out from Speaker's Corner. So we've been here at Trafalgar Square with the May Day protest. There were no riots. The socialists and the communists were well behaved. I know I was a little bit cheeky at the beginning of the stream. That was just my humour. It was actually quite a friendly protest. I enjoyed speaking to everybody, though of course they are on the opposite side of the political spectrum as me. So it's over from me, and yeah, have a good evening, and we might see you in about half an hour.